Uncontrollable Chapter 4. Star got home a few hours later. I'd eaten and gotten ready for bed already. Now, lying on my bed, staring at the roof as my thoughts cloud my mind. Star relaxing on her bed beside me. My overthinking mind ruins the almost peaceful quiet of the night. Star got up and turned the light off, my room dimly lit by the moonlight shining through our window. The city was quiet, and Star seemed happy just to be sitting here tonight. I tried to hold back my racing thoughts, words screaming at me as I tried to keep them quiet, until inevitably failing. Starine? My words get caught in my throat before I shake my head and continue, knowing there's no turning back now. Should I tell them? They deserve the truth, and I don't want to lie to them, but I think you should, Star said softly, stopping me before I continued to ramble myself into a hole. I think it would make things really better. If they are good friends, I think they'll understand that you don't want to hurt anyone. You're good, and nobody can say otherwise until they've met you. People shouldn't rely on stereotypes. She seemed almost lost in thought as she talked before spacing off for a few moments. You're good, no matter what anyone thinks. Thank you. I sit there in silence, my thoughts stirring me awake. Star, I'm gonna go for a fly. Wanna come with? I turned to her. She looked pretty tired, but I thought it never hurts to ask. She shook her head no and gave me a soft smile. All right, I'll just be outside if you change your mind. As I walk out the door to our room, closing it softly behind me, I felt a chill run down my spine. Walking down the stairs and out the back door, I shrugged it off, using the clear, starry sky to lighten my mood, without the worry of an uncontrolled switch sending stabbing pain through my back. I let my wings appear, painless and almost natural to me. I spread my wings. After a quick glance around, and I listen for anyone awake at this hour, I lift myself off the ground, my wings carrying me through the air. The chill of the night air ran through my PJs. They blended into the darkness enough I wasn't worried. And just like my PJs, my dark purple wings blended into the night sky as I flew feet above the tallest house in our neighborhood. As the wind brushes through my hair, a sparkle of excitement came to my eyes. I couldn't help but enjoy the quiet wind currents that littered the area, flying through them and letting the wind carry my body through the sky. I couldn't help the wide smile that came to my face, a laugh of freedom coming from my lungs as I dived down just to open my wings and burst back into the sky. This was a weekly thing Star and I did. Every so often she was too tired, which led to nights where I'd test my limits, strengthening my skills and teaching myself new ways to glide. The wind stung my eyes the faster I went, and before I knew it I was reaching new speeds every night. Some nights I could go to the lake out of town and glide along the water. I felt a cold breeze through me as I glanced in that direction. It might be too cold tonight. After a few more minutes of flying around and testing my limits, I settled on the roof of our house. I struggled to catch my breath, a smile still plastered on my face as my wings pulled on my back. They lie gently against the shingles, weak from the flying. As I stare at the stars, a yawn made its way up my throat. I chuckled at myself, my smile fading softly. I should really get some sleep. I weakly opened my wings. I felt the muscles in them shake in protest. One soft glide down to the ground later, and I finally made my wings disappear. A gloomy feeling falls over me as I walk inside, back up to my room. I see Star laying on her side, facing the wall away from me. A soft smile filled my face as she looked so peaceful. As I lie down on the bed, the noise previously drowned out by my footsteps in the door rang through my ears. My hair stood on end as I heard Star whimpering. I sit up, just barely able to hear her mutters. Please, I don't want to hurt you. Make it stop, I'm not like her. I'm not. I quickly jumped off my bed, my legs shaking as I ran over to her. Tears were streaming down her unconscious face. Her body was covered in sweat and shaking. Starine, hey, wake up. I gently pushed on her shoulder. She didn't seem to stir. She's not mean, I'm not her. Her voice was getting shaky, her words barely intelligible. Starine! I yell, flinching at the volume in which I did so, but pushed her shoulder a bit harder. She coughed on the words she was about to mutter before her shaking stopped. Her tears didn't, though. I gently rested my hand on her shoulder as she woke up, taking a moment to let her realize what was going on as I sit down on the edge of her bed. Hey, sis, I mumbled softly. She seemed to wake up, her conscious mind going through everything before she choked back on tears and curled into a tighter ball than she was before. Starine, it's okay, I'm here. I rubbed her arm softly, awkwardly gripping the sheets beside me with my other hand. I'm so sorry, Emma, she said after the tears stopped. I stood up and opened my arms for a hug. She puts her arms around me, her grip tight as I felt her hand shake. What was it about? I mumbled softly. You're always saying that talking about nightmares helps get over them, right? I felt her grip tighten for a second, her body stiffening before she took a moment to relax and take a few breaths. I saw... She stops, going over her thoughts. I saw someone with black feathered wings, and you were hurt, and they were convincing me I did it. I would never hurt you, she said, tears streaming down her face as she held me close. I know, Star, I say, trying to reassure her. But when I looked down at my hands, there was blood, and... She fell silent. I let her think. I saw a bright blue flame in my hands. I think I was a demon, too. I rubbed her back gently, looking out the window to the stars outside. It's okay, I mumbled. I knew what this dream meant. It wasn't the first time she showed signs of fearing what I am, or fearing herself becoming what I am. I tried to lighten the mood by patting her back before joking softly. Aren't I the one supposed to have nightmares? I felt her chuckle, but she didn't move. It was a few more moments before I felt her grip loosen up. I didn't want to move her, and after what only seemed like 10 minutes, I gently pulled away only to feel her weigh me down, out cold once again. I glanced at the alarm clock on my bedside table. It's been about an hour since I got home. Let's get you back tucked in, I mumbled, laying her down and tucking her in. I gently get up, trying not to wake her up, and crawl into bed myself. The next morning, I woke up to the front door opening and closing. A small while later, loud talking and the smell of cookies. I groaned and rolled over. My body ached from yesterday, like every unhealed pinprick of a bruise multiplied. My back hurt from where my wings were. My fist hurt from where I punched the wall. I tried to heal, but the damage was too long ago. Most of it was just aches from healing so violently in general. I turned my head over to see Star's bed, assuming at first it was Mom's friends who came to visit, or maybe our aunt, but Star was missing from her bed. Burying my face in my pillow, connecting the dots in my head that it was our friends who came in. It's not that I didn't want to hang out with them today, but I didn't want a repeat of yesterday. Emma, wake up, sleepyhead, Cassie said, running into my room. My eyes flickered black as the change in volume made me jump. Thankfully, I'm used to Star running into my room doing the same thing, so it didn't scare me too much, but I still groaned once my heart rate settled. Hi, Cassie. I forced a smile and sat up. My messy hair covered my face before I rubbed my eyes and stretched. Where are the others? In the living room with Star. I think they're talking about plans for tomorrow, she said, glancing down the hall. What plans? I mumbled, getting up and walking over to my closet. About a birthday party tomorrow. Since we have Monday off, we thought it could be a great chance to hang out. 3 days in a row isn't too much for you, is it? She said, giggling softly. I stuck my tongue out at her and grabbed my clothes for today. I'll be fine. Now shoo, or you won't see me at all today. Like hell I'm going out in my PJs. I walked towards her, waving my hand. She laughed and walked off, closing my door behind her. My smile fades as I glare at the door. I don't have energy for this right now. I need a day to relax and recover from yesterday. A shiver runs up my spine as I thought about how Ava reacted to my eyes. I'm not gonna get out of more questions today. As I get changed, I remember Star's words saying it might be better to tell them. If they're good friends, they'll stay. And I think they're pretty good friends already. I groaned and reached for the door just to feel my body shake, preparing itself for something I haven't even decided yet. I've gone years without telling a soul, but not without losing friends anyway. What would be the worst-case scenario? What good would come out of this? Maybe if everyone knew, they'd hurt Star less. That seemed to calm my shaking slightly. I shook my head, ignoring my racing thoughts, and walked out of my room. A dark pair of jeans and my purple sweater. "Welcome to the land of the living," Sierra said. "I made some cookies. They're pretty sugar-filled, so maybe it'll help you wake up." As I looked up at them, I felt the bags under my eyes drag me down. "Yeah, I think I'll have one or two," I mumbled, walking past her. Everyone else was sitting and chatting on the couch. As I grab a cookie, Sierra smiles and walks over to the others. I rest my back on the counter, facing away from them, just listening to their plans for tomorrow. After a few seconds, I realized I didn't hear Ava's voice. It wouldn't surprise me if she was just sitting and listening like usual, or maybe she wasn't here yet. I finished my cookie and turned to see them all chatting. Ava, on the other hand, was indeed there and staring right at me. I couldn't help but meet her gaze. She looked serious, but curious. She was catching on, wasn't she? I felt my heartbeat speed up, and I couldn't keep her gaze. I stayed down at the counter, but knowing she was still staring at me only made it worse. Oh God, what if she knew all along and was just waiting till I broke, till I snapped at her like I do everybody else? I messed it up all again. My knuckles were turning white as I gripped the counter before their laughter filled my head and my anxious mind, unable to turn away from the topic and focus on the joke that they just made. Instead, all I thought of was them laughing at me. They could see me breaking. Their eyes were on me. They were laughing at me. "Hey, Emma." Star's voice rang through my ears. "Do you think you could grab me a sweater from my room?" My body shook, and I didn't dare look at them. Yeah, I can do that." I tried to soften my shaky voice as I stood straight and quickly walked to our room. I turned away from the door and pressed my back against the wall and slid down. Pressed my hands to my eyes and rested them on my knees. "Oh, wait, guys, I'm gonna go make sure she grabs the right one. I'll be right back." She laughed softly, but as she reached the hall, she seemed to speed up, her footsteps sliding in front of our door before she ran in and quickly crouched by my side. "Hey, what's going on? Breathe, Emma. You're okay. You're doing okay," she said softly, putting her hand on my shoulder. She paused for a moment and closed the door beside her. "You're safe now." I knew what she meant by that, and I didn't waste a second. The pain from holding my form to myself finally released, as well as the hold I had on my magic as it flooded to the surface in any place it could. Dark purple curled horns came out of my head. I leaned forward, now pressing my head against the floor as my wings pushed against the wall, despite me moving away from it. My tail, once it formed, quickly curled up by my side. "There you go," she said softly. She was careful of my wings as she ran her hand down my back. "Sorry," I mumbled, breathing heavily as the magic in my blood slowly calmed down. My wings dropped down, still sore from last night, and my tail uncurled slightly, just relaxing by my side. "Don't be sorry, you're doing really well. Please don't stress about this. It'll be okay, I promise." She was doing a good job at reassuring me, but I had this aching pain in my chest. I just couldn't get rid of it, and I think it's time I tried, which was only going to make it worse till I do it. "I need your help to tell them." I groaned and sat up, my wings stretching out so I don't push against the wall. I can't do it alone, it's too much, but I need to be the one to tell them. I just need you to push me a little." I fumble over my words as Star smiles at me, hugs me softly and nods. "Of course I'll help. All you have to do is ask, but are you sure? You don't need to push yourself to tell them. It can always wait a while." I shake my head, taking a sharp and shaky breath in as I stand up. "I think it's only going to get worse if I don't." She nods and stands up beside me, holding her hand on the door until I change back into my human form. "I'll tell them later today. You'll know when." I smile at her softly as I turn back into my human form. The protective magic ran its course, and the aches I felt feel a bit better now. "Okay, come on, this house is getting way too stuffy for my liking." She opened the door and started to walk out. They were quietly chatting in the living room. "I think a trip to the park would be nice." I nod softly, my hands in my pockets as Star walks in front of me. "The park? That sounds great, we can all play tag again," Maddie said, standing up. "And this time I think I'll win. I've been thinking of some new tactics to get away from all of you." I chuckle softly and head for the door. Aren't you getting a sweater? Ava said, glancing up at us before saying as well. Meh, what's a little wind gonna do? Star smiled and ran outside when she was able to, without pushing past anyone. All right then, Ava mumbled. Cassie and Sierra both ran out to chase after Maddie, starting a race to the park the moment they reached the field. Every footstep made this ache so much stronger, like walking into impending doom. I needed to tell them and get it over with. Maybe at the end of the day, once my mind is clear again. After about 3 hours of playing tag, swinging, taking breaks, and chasing each other around the playground, coming up with new ways to play games, we had settled for walking back to the house for some late lunch or early dinner. I started to draw back, my smile from the fun fading as the ache in my chest came back tenfold. My legs felt like they couldn't hold another wobbly step, and I fell to my knees, a soft grunt of pain as I catch myself with my hands. Emma, are you okay? Maddie said, walking up to me, a hand outstretched to help me up. I saw Star's eyes widen when she met mine, realization coming to her as she remembered what we talked about. I nodded towards Star before smiling at Maddie. Yeah, I'm okay, just tripped. I rubbed the bridge of my nose to calm myself. I felt my eyes flicker black in protest. The pain doubled as I kept thinking about it. Now that we have a second to talk, Ava started. Star glanced at her confused, and everyone else fell silent as I caught up, tilting my head slightly. What happened with your eyes yesterday? My heart sinks, a knot forming in my throat as I glance at Star for help, unable to think, unable to focus on the growing fear inside me, the knot of anxiety building as my power pushes its way to the surface in protest of protection. Actually, Star starts, walking towards me with an outstretched hand. When she notices I kept my fists tightly clenched in my pockets, she puts her hand on my shoulder. She was hoping to tell you all something that's been bothering her. Oh? Was it something we did? Cassie and Maddie say, respectively, followed by worried looks towards me, which only made my blood run quicker. No, she's just has something she'd like to share, but it's really hard for her to talk about, let alone keep it a secret, she said, rubbing my shoulder softly. She looked at me, her eyes gentle with worry and reassurance. Optimism shined in her eyes no matter what. The group fell silent. Sierra sat down after a few seconds, politely smiling, and not soon after, Cassie and Maddie sat down as well. Take your time, Sierra said softly. Eva crossed her arms in front of her. I could only assume she was annoyed I didn't answer her question. Seconds passed. It felt like minutes soon after. And soon after that, I stared at the ground for too long. Star stepped in front of me, and I couldn't do anything else but meet her gaze. In my peripheral, I could see everyone staring, but I couldn't draw my attention away from Star. It's gonna be okay. You can tell them, she said softly. The knot in my throat only made me shake more as I tried to push past it. I'm scared, I say with a weak chuckle. It's okay to be scared. They can help. I took in a deep breath, looking past her at everyone, their calm and caring smiles. Star moved to the side, gently pushing me to say something. Anything. I could feel tears trying to push their way to my eyes. I'm a demon, I mumble. Ava's eyes seemed to light up in an unexplainable way, only described as anything but happiness. Sierra sat there a little shaken, and Maddie seemed confused. What? Cassie said, tilting her head. I couldn't tell if she didn't hear me or didn't believe me. I'm a demon. I glanced at Star for reassurance. She smiled at me proudly. The knot in my throat subsided momentarily. I have wings and horns, magic through my veins, and hellfire I can control. Maddie sat there for a moment before snickering. Yeah, it's a good one. And I thought Star was the funny one out of you two. Ava glanced at her, a smirk coming to her face as the others didn't take their eyes off me. Star glared at Maddie. Oh my god, you're not joking? But that's impossible. Magic doesn't exist. If one more person tries to tell me science isn't real, I'm going to... Show us, Sierra said softly. She had a polite tone in her voice, but it still shook me up. I felt my body shake. I could hear my blood pulsing in my ears. I don't think she'd be comfortable doing so, Star said softly. I looked back down at my feet. I wanted to, but what if I hurt them? It's not like it won't hurt either. There's too much fear, and forcing it would only be painful. God, I should have stayed in bed today. I glanced up to see Sierra and Maddie staring at me, disbelief in a mock way. They thought I was fooling them. I'd lose friends for this, wouldn't I? If I don't say anything, they'll be mad. If I do show them, No. I'll do it, I say before thinking. The words caught me off guard. I felt betrayed by my own tongue. They all stood silent. I would be lying if I said I wasn't scared as hell. Seconds passed, and it felt like hours to me, as I took a deep breath in, carefully assessing every inch of the magic in my blood, or at least trying to, before I calmed down enough to control it, and after a shot of pain through my back, down my spine and behind my temples, I was in my demon form. The pain only lasted a few seconds, and soon enough I looked back up to see them all staring at me. Everyone, with eyes filled with mixed emotions, fear and amazement. My tail curled around my leg, and soon I couldn't bear to see their faces anymore. I cover my body in my wings. Almost immediately after doing so, I hear Cassie. No, please don't hide. It's so neat, she says, jumping up. I thought they were myths. Does that mean angels exist too? She smiled and jumped around, much like Star does, full of energy and optimism. Duh, Ava says, mumbling, glancing at Star. She was just smiling at me, proud and calm. I glance out from my wings just to see them all again, to see Star's smile, which made me just smile a little. How? I mean, science and... Maddie seemed almost angry, but in a curious way, before looking at me with a joking smile. Can I experiment on you? I glare at her. Of course not! That's a terrible thought! Star said with a sharper glare than my own. It made me laugh, since I noticed she was joking, and Star didn't. I let my wings down and calmly breathe. So, what all can you do? 'Cause you didn't mention the tail, Sierra said. Before I could answer, Ava spoke, her voice almost sounding angry. Is Star one too? I glanced at Star, who stood there dumbfounded. No, I spoke. I'm the only one I know of. It was passed down from our dad. Star lucked out. I'd say the opposite, Cassie said, walking around me, taking notice of my extra limbs. Maddie stood up and joined her, looking at me with a "may I?" expression before I lifted my arm towards her for her to check it out. It made me smile that they didn't run and hide. Ava stood there with her arms crossed, looking down at me. It made me shiver. Brave, I heard her mumble. I couldn't tell who it was towards, but my thoughts were interrupted by Sierra coughing. I'm sorry I didn't mention the tail, but I'm not sure what else I can do, other than controlling my hellfire, I say, smiling at her. She looks between me and Ava. She mentioned your eyes. What was that about? I pause and laugh at Sierra's question. Okay, I guess there is one thing, but I don't do it on purpose. Not because I can't, but because I don't like to. It only really happens when I'm angry or stressed or... Well, what is it? Her voice was light, excited to see what I could do. I sigh as my eyes change. The whites of them turned dark and the color glowed softly. Ava nodded softly and looked at the others who were staring in awe. After a few minutes of showing them everything, letting them poke and prod in a sense, I took a step back from them, rubbing the back of my head and changing my eyes back to normal. A weight was definitely lifted off my chest. I'm sorry for keeping this from you guys. I don't exactly like this part of me, let alone how it makes me act. I see a few of them look confused at me. It's hard to control the magic that comes to the surface to protect me, or Star from that matter. I lash out or hurt myself just to keep in control. I don't like hurting people. I chuckle as I look up, trying to hold back tears. I wanted to do what my dad did. He proved he wasn't bad, and he was head of the church. I want to prove I can be good like him too, but I can't control my magic that well. Yet, Star added softly. It made me smile as I looked back at the others. I heard Cassie mumble something under her breath, and after doing so, Maddie laughed. A lot. Cassie joined in and hit her arms softly. I glanced between the two. What's so funny? Star said, smiling politely. But she was just as concerned as I was, thinking it was something about me. After they both calmed down from laughing, Cassie spoke up. I guess this means we have a winner of all tag games. I don't doubt you can fly super fast like that. I smile and shake my head. I wouldn't use it against you guys, but I'm sure if I actually tried, I could outrun all of you. My healing powers helped me push my limits a bit too much. I laughed softly before I see Maddie looking at me, not convinced about what I said. She glared at me in a jokingly competitive way. Her smile showed the harmlessness in her words as she spoke. I doubt you can fly, let alone faster than we can run. Oh, no, you didn't just do that, Star said, smiling wide. Trust me, I've tried to compete with her. 2 times around the playground should prove the winner here. We all know I'm the fastest now. Maddie glared at me. I glared back, a playful smile lighting up my eyes. Try me, I smiled, planting my feet on the ground, opening my wings. Oh, jeez, is this safe? This is safe, right? Sierra looks between Star and me. Yeah, she'll be fine, Star said, smiling. Wait, I say, smiling at Maddie. Let's make this at least a little fair. I laugh, walking up towards Sierra and Cassie. Eva had prematurely stepped to the side. Who wants to help her win? No, I am not dying today, Sierra says, backing up. I'll let Cassie test if it's safe first. Hey, no fair. I want to say in this. She crosses her arms, glaring between us. I give her a chance to fight it, but she just smiles and laughs. I choose to be the test subject anyway. All right. I turn around. Get on my back, I'll carry your legs. Just keep your arms out of the way of my wings, and you'll be okay. Maddie stares over at us. Hey, no fair. Oh, hush. If you guys are as easy to carry as Star is, you can all get a turn. Now, you have a race to win, don't you? As Cassie gets on my back, I walk over to her, standing at her side with my wings spread. Please be careful, Sierra says worriedly before Star pushes her shoulder. Oh, hush. We do this all the time. Worst case scenario, she gets dropped. She laughs. And as I was counting down, Cassie realized what she said. Wait, what? She yells as I say 1, the final number in the countdown. Go! I yell, letting Maddie get the first few steps in before I start. A quick run soon turns into flying as I lift both me and Cassie off the ground. I heard her scream as I picked up speed. Maddie is ahead of us in the start, and I take my time to gain speed. Oh, come on, you never went easy on me, Star yelled. I laughed, and as my eyes flicker in a competitive way, I flap my wings harder, picking up speed and flying far ahead of Maddie, leaving her in the dust. I catch a glimpse of Ava writing down something as Star and Sierra cheer on the sidelines. Come on, you said you were practicing, weren't you? I yell, glaring behind me at Cassie, who was sitting a bit straighter with her eyes wide. I see Maddie glare back at me and push herself, just barely keeping up as I keep a steady and genuinely slow pace. As we start the second lap, I saw her draw back, and I'm pretty sure Cassie did too, because I saw her glance back at me and then back at her before flicking my tail, which made me miss a beat with my wings, now putting me in an awkward pattern which made it hard to fly straight for a minute. Her laughter filled the playground as Maddie caught up. You got this! She yelled as Maddie passed us. I tried to regain the pattern I had going, catching it again just in time to fly past Maddie, seconds before passing the line started drawn in the sand. Breathing heavy, I land and give it a second for Cassie to get off before flopping down on the grass. That was painful. Don't mess with my tail, I groaned, glaring at her, a smile still wide on my face. Maddie comes running over, breathing heavier than me and smiling. Thank you, Cassie. I almost won. Against a demon. She laughed and others came cheering. Star congratulated Maddie for keeping up. I take a moment to catch my breath before looking at the others standing up and stretching my wings out. Okay, who's next? And no shenanigans this time. After a while, everyone had been flown around the playground a few times, and a good game of tag was played, but eventually we noticed Ava missing from our group, and not long after we realized it was almost sunset. We started walking home after I turned in my human form once again. We were still smiling and laughing as we walked back to our house for some late dinner. Star was smiling softly. I focused on her, wanting to thank her for pushing me today before I noticed her glance over her shoulder and look down at the ground, almost sad, with anger in her eyes. She looked deep in thought. I decided to thank her at a better time and just focus on the laughter still flowing between us all.